More than 50,000. That's the number of people displaced in violence hit Manipur. Over 130. That's the number of people who have lost their life in the internal strife that our northeastern state is witnessing since the 3rd of May. That's almost 2 months now. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has not once spoken about Manipur all these days. But something that he did speak about earlier this week on Tuesday has caught everybody's attention and has been part of the news cycle for more than 2 days now. Uniform Civil Code. Prime Minister Narendra Modi brought the big guns when he was addressing his party workers, BJP workers, at an event in poll-bound Madhya Pradesh, effectively sounding the poll bugle in at least 3 poll-bound Hindi Hindu heartland states of Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, and Rajasthan. There is a reason why I call them Hindi Hindu heartland states. Other than the fact that they are Hindi-speaking states, they are also states where the BJP makes Hindutva its primary poll pitch. UCC by the BJP is presented also as a majoritarian issue with communal overtures. That's how UCC by the BJP is viewed. But UCC is much beyond, the debate at least around Uniform Civil Code is much beyond the Hindu-Muslim rhetoric. On this episode of State of Play, I tell you what these issues are that go beyond this rhetoric and actually affect everyday life, whether it is Muslims, more so Hindus. Welcome to the show. I am Anusha Ravi Sood. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's push for Uniform Civil Code comes at perfect timing. It is not just right before assembly elections are set to take place in 3 Hindi Hindu heartland states, but also comes at a time when the BJP has lost 2 big states, Himachal Pradesh and Karnataka, recently. UCC is not a new poll pitch for the BJP. If anything, the BJP had the promise of Uniform Civil Code even in its 2019 Lok Sabha manifesto, and there is no doubt that UCC will also be invoked during the party's campaign ahead of 2024 Lok Sabha elections as well. Clearly, for the BJP, UCC becomes a talking point whenever there are key elections around. The Prime Minister's pitch for UCC also comes at a time barely days after the 22nd Law Commission asked or solicited views of the public and registered religious organizations on drafting a uniform civil code for the country. In 2018, the Law Commission, the previous Law Commission, has already given its report. I will tell you what the report consists later in the show. But now, the 22nd Law Commission also wants your views. So if you do have views, whether for, against, or ambivalent views on UCC, now is the time for you to make your voice heard on the Law Commission's website. So if you have opinions, please do convey that to the Law Commission. So quickly then, what is Uniform Civil Code? Uniform Civil Code seeks to have one single law for all citizens of India, irrespective of caste, creed, faith, religion, gender, because let's remember, gender equality is what BJP pitches UCC as a tool to ensure gender equality. That's the BJP's pitch. So gender equality, etc. on matters of personal issues like marriage and divorce, adoption, guardianship, custodianship, inheritance, property, share holdings, etc., division of property, etc. Criminal law applies to all citizens of India equally, but even within criminal law, the states have some power to amend a few sections, increasing or decreasing the scale of penalty, punishment, etc. But criminal procedure or criminal code is equal to all citizens. There is no discrimination there at all. But civil laws, or what you otherwise call personal laws, are different for different sections of people, largely Hindus and Muslims. We specifically have Muslim personal law, Hindu personal law, in fact, has 4 different categories. We'll come to that later. So these personal laws are largely driven or are in tandem with religious texts, customs, practices, religious practices, faiths. A lot of these personal laws are drawn from the faith that a particular citizen is professing. So why are personal laws drawn largely from religious texts, customs, and practices? Just to ensure that in a country like ours, where there is so much plurality, we are so diverse, there are so many communities, faiths, sects within communities, there are so many different religions that we profess. Personal laws were drawn from customs, practices, faith, religious texts, etc., to ensure that there is no violation or there is no infringement upon anybody's right to religion. Over the years, many amendments have been made to personal laws as well, whether it is for Christians, for Hindus, for Muslims. Over the years, many amendments have been made even to personal laws. So let's remember, they are not fixed. They are always open to amendment. In fact, the last Law Commission suggested a few amendments to the government to make in these personal laws of different communities. So, in a country that is so diverse, is a uniform civil code even a possibility? Well, to answer that question, you first have to take a very objective view of the existing personal laws, even when these personal laws are only limited to certain specific religions, etc. Even, even under these existing personal laws, there is no uniformity in the sense there is no homogeneous personal law for all Hindus, homogeneous personal law for all Muslims. Take, for example, the Hindu personal law, or what was earlier the Hindu Code Bill, which has now actually been divided into at least four separate acts. There is the Hindu Marriage Act, there is the Hindu Succession Act, the Hindu Minority and Guardianship Act, and the Hindu Adoptions and Maintenance Act. The Hindu acts that govern the personal laws of Hindus also extend to other religions like Buddhism, Sikhism, Jainism in India as well. Even within these laws, there are a lot of discrepancies. For example, the Hindu Marriage Act may prohibit marriage between close relatives, but that is actually a reality, a ground reality, that is a practice that is professed by many people across the country. In India, within the Hindu community, there are communities that practice a matriarchal or a matrilineal family system where marriage laws, succession laws are very different. The customs are very different. Take, for example, communities in Kerala that follow the matrilineal system, or families in coastal Karnataka. Coastal Karnataka, where the BJP has its foundation, has a stronghold, even there, families actually follow not a patrilineal but a matrilineal family system, whether it is marriage, whether it is property holding, whether it is succession, adoption, etc. It is supposed to be women who are the authoritarian figure in these family structures. Same is true of many communities in northeastern states, whether it is the Khasi tribes, whether it is Garo community, etc. Child marriage prohibited, but also is a reality among many communities within the Hindu fold in India. So you see, personal laws that are supposed to be the guiding laws for Hindus also are not really uniformly practiced by the community. The same goes for Muslims as well. When you say Shariat law, the Muslim personal law should govern all Muslims, it is not the reality. The same law is not applicable to Muslims in Jammu Kashmir. They have their own set of laws with which Muslims handle their personal issues, etc. Same Muslim law is not applicable to many sects within the Muslim community, like probably the Sunni Bora community, etc. So there are fleeting changes, there are a lot of discrepancies even within the existing personal laws meant for different communities. So you see, even in the existing personal laws, there really is no uniformity, and each smaller communities or larger communities or different communities practice their own set of customs, etc., when it comes to personal laws or personal issues of family, adoption, property division, etc. The BJP insists that the UCC, as it pitches, was envisioned by the architects of the Indian Constitution. The BJP insists that it is only fair that you put into practice what the founding fathers of India's Constitution envisioned for the country. The BJP is right in saying that, but only partly. Article 44 of the Indian Constitution, Part 4 of the Indian Constitution says that the state shall endeavour to deliver to its citizens or secure for citizens a uniform civil code throughout the territory of India. But Part 4 of the Indian Constitution outlines the directive principles of state policy, which means it can't be enforced by court. Nobody can go to court demanding that the court rule that a UCC be ordered. But these directive principles are supposed to be the basis on which governance is carried out, through which lawmakers will go ahead and make laws. So UCC is not a fundamental right or a constitutional mandate, but a goal towards which India is supposed to strive. Has its time come is always the question that is raised when debates around UCC arise. Since the BJP often refers to how the founding fathers of the constitution wanted UCC for India, let's take a look at what Dr. B.R. Ambedkar said about UCC while debating it. He was for it. He thought it was a desirable thing for India to have a uniform civil code. However, he insisted, he was very categorical that it has to be purely voluntary at the initial stages. He also added that UCC was an endeavor and not an imposition on the citizens of India. Founding fathers of the Indian Constitution insisted that all communities have to consent for UCC to become a reality for the country. People who argue for UCC, even courts in courts in India in several verdicts have spoken about how Goa has a UCC, a Uniform Civil Code, and it's a shining example of UCC. But the ground reality in Goa will tell you that what Goa has, yes, Goa has a civil code. It has a common civil code that was implemented way back by the Portuguese, and even with the Goan civil code, there are a lot of differences, concessions, exemptions given to people based on religion, etc. For example, Catholics get a lot of concession under the Goa Civil Code. They don't have to register their marriages. The chief of the church of the parish can actually dissolve marriages as well. Under Goa Civil Code, Hindus are allowed bigamy. Hindu men specifically are allowed bigamy. But the same kind of exemptions, the same kind of concessions are not extended to Muslims in Goa. In fact, Muslims are still governed by the Portuguese law or the Hindu law in Goa. So clearly there, nothing uniform about Goa's civil code as well. Several tribal communities across India have raised concerns over how Uniform Civil Code can actually be a violation for their customs, for their practices, even the land laws that have been made specifically for tribal communities. It is not just the Muslim community that has raised concerns over UCC or the Christian community or religious minorities in India, but also Hindu communities, largely tribal communities, who worry that UCC may violate their customs, their practices. Also take away special laws that have been made to ensure they are made landed communities. Let's leave politics aside over UCC for a bit, and let's just talk about how this law can also impact citizens, the majority citizens of India, the Hindus. Have you come across WhatsApp forwards or maybe casual conversations in your drawing room or office spaces with people insisting, or WhatsApp forwards insisting, that Muslims get special privileges because there is no UCC in India? The Muslims have their own law, they have their own benefits, they draw from their own customs, etc., to get special privileges in India. As minorities, they are given far more privileges in India than minorities in any other country gets. And all of this is because there is no uniform civil code. If you have come across WhatsApp conversations like forwards like this or conversations like this, then it would help you to know that Hindus, as a majority in India, also have special privileges under current existing personal laws. The lack of a uniform civil code has actually been a tool to provide privileges to the Hindu community as well. One of the best examples that one can cite is the Hindu undivided family as a tax exempted entity under the current laws. So what is this Hindu undivided family? It's a tool to ensure you get a tax exemption if you're a Hindu and if you have assets that you can position or portray as jointly held assets by one Hindu undivided family. There are a lot of tax breaks, you get exemptions under ATC. In fact, because of HUF, the union government foregoes thousands of crores of rupees in taxes every year. That's a privilege that you get under the existing personal laws as a Hindu with the lack of a UCC. Well, that is not all. Several Hindu communities get a lot of concession from existing laws because of their identity as Hindus. Take, for example, the Kodavas. Kodavas are a Hindu clan. They are from Hindu community. They are from Karnataka, largely from Kodagu of Karnataka. Kodavas get exemption from the Arms Act they can possess firearms without a license because there is an exemption for their identity. The same applies to also people who hold Jumma tender lands. These are specific privileges that are given to communities within the Hindu fold because there is no UCC, and personal laws are driven or are taken from their personal customs, from their faith, from their religion, etc. Several communities also have the privilege of hereditary jobs, have the privilege of inheritance, etc. The way they run their families, marriages, adoption, etc. Because of the personal laws that currently govern them, and all of this are Hindus. UCC could also impact special laws that have been made to give property, land, assets to marginalized communities within the Hindu fold, whether it is the scheduled castes or scheduled tribes, and hence the opposition by these communities to the UCC as well. Like I said, UCC, as proposed in the Constituent Assembly debates, was backed by one point. Everybody agreed that UCC will have to come eventually, gradually, and slowly, but all communities, especially the minority communities, will have to consent to it. It cannot be the decision of just the majority community. And this is just to ensure that UCC does not infringe upon the faith, belief, religious systems of minorities in India as well. As recently as 2018, the Law Commission gave a report to the Union government, to Narendra Modi government, in which it said that a united nation does not necessarily need uniformity, especially a country like India, which revels in its plurality, in its diversity. The Commission report said that it is neither necessary nor desirable to have UCC currently in India. But the Commission did say that discriminatory practices, practices that need amendment, need to be taken a look at, and laws need to be amended accordingly within personal laws of different communities. Laws that are discriminatory in nature need to go. But what the Commission also suggested to the government is the abolition of the Hindu undivided family as a tax exempted entity. The fear around UCC as a concept of one nation, one law is that it will dent India's plurality. The diversity, not just in terms of religious diversity, but also diversity when it comes to communities, subsects, customs, micro customs, in fact, micro identities of multiple diverse communities living in India, the diverse communities that make India who she is. The concern is that majoritarian concepts will trample upon the rights, customs, way of life of minorities, not just religious minorities, but cultural minorities as well. But there are some great things to look forward to if UCC were actually to become a reality in the current form that the BJP wants it to be. If adoption, marriage laws become common for all citizens, then nobody should have a problem with same-sex marriages. Nobody should have a problem with same-sex couples adopting children and raising them, because UCC, by its very nature or by its very description, is one law for all citizens across the country, irrespective of their identity. Even gender identity should be inclusive in this UCC, and hence you can probably look forward to more same-sex marriages. It is great for gender parity, for gender equality. It will actually put an end to all the difficulties same-sex couples are going through to demand, or the court cases that are being fought in various courts in India demanding marriage equality. So that was great news for gender minorities in India if UCC were to become a reality. But going by the fact that UCC is brought up deliberately only when elections are around the corner makes it to news headlines and news cycles when leaders of the BJP prop it up always during an election time. And given that CAA, another flagship pitch of the BJP, has not seen the light of day even after 4 years, tells you something. The UCC is a long drawn process. It is a goal towards which India is supposed to strive. It cannot be brought in suddenly by any government. It is a long process that involves multiple consultations, consent of different communities living in India. It's an ideal goal towards which the country is supposed to walk right now, but it cannot take place in the absence of trust in the system, trust in the government, and trust within the society. So, UCC clearly is a long drawn process. However, whipping up communal sentiments around an issue like the UCC around election time is not too much of a challenge as we've seen in the past. At this point in time, even the opposition parties have pointed to actual real issues on ground that should be the priority. But come election time, everything gets a free pass. We at South First will keep a tab on how this development moves forward. Do stay tuned. Thank you for watching.